It brings me immense joy to be interviewing amazing watercolor artist Aparna Garg. But before that, I wanted to go into why I do these podcasts for all my listeners and viewers and audiences. I've come back to the arts after so many years, and to make my foray again in a new city, Mumbai, for me was difficult because I had no conversations happening for me to share my ideas, to share my excitement. And I feel that, now that I have this community of beautiful friends and artists amongst them, I wanted to engage and find out why they do what they do, what is their process, for the benefit of all of us who are artists out there and may have just a beautiful bulb on moment from these sharings. Because when I do these podcasts with my artist friends and upcoming artist friends such as myself, I can not only hear the voice that they have been waiting to express, but also ideas come up, and ideas for new creations come up. And it's a beautiful journey of us having to use the creator's energy to put out that creation. It's a passionate journey, and I want to share it, and I want someone to share theirs with me, because that's the way we engage and collaborate and find out about each other. So if there's anyone out there that is looking to come on to my podcast and wants to connect with me, please do. I will leave you my Instagram handle, which is artfulhustle.rima on Instagram, and my Gmail is artfulhustle.rima gmail.com. Check the link. And for any interested people who feel their voice has not been heard, and really want to come out there and share something about their art, please feel free to connect with me. Perhaps you can come on my podcast. So, without any further ado, let's get on with this podcast with the beautiful watercolor artist Aparna Garg. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Aparna, for coming today and being a part of this wonderful podcast. So, Aparna, I know that you're a watercolor artist, you're a teacher, a doting mother, a loving wife. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey as a watercolor artist. How did you discover your passion for watercolor painting?
Hi, thanks Rima for having me for your podcast. I'm really excited to be here.
Mhm.
My journey as a watercolor artist started just 3-4 years back.
Okay.
However, I've always been in the creative field because I've studied fashion and I've been
Okay.
teaching at SNDT Juhu in the fashion department from the past 10 years.
Whoa, okay.
So, creativity has always been there.
Mhm.
And since the past 3-4 years, I started to explore watercolors and I just fell in love with watercolors. And that's where I began. Yeah.
Okay, tell me something. What draws you to the medium of watercolors specifically? Are there any artists or style that has influenced your work?
What I love about watercolors is that the medium itself is so fluid. Just by changing the pressure of the brush and the transparency of the medium, you can never make two watercolor paintings the same, how much ever you try, because
Okay.
the beauty about watercolors is that it creates its own blends on paper, and that's what it's exciting, like you start painting and you cannot never plan what is going to be.
Mm.
So that is what excites me the most about watercolor.
People are fearful of getting their work is being copied by many people. I think they should use watercolors because nobody can really
Nobody
copy
can copy, even I can't copy my own art. And
Okay, okay.
the blends that come out when you mix two colors together, so even if I take the same green of two different brands, it'll give out a different effect.
Wow. How do you balance your role as an art teacher and as an artist? Does teaching impact your own creative process?
Oh yes, it definitely does. When I'm teaching, I'm learning. That's
Yeah.
what I've understood. As a teacher in the fashion world also,
Mhm.
I've learned more than when I was a student of fashion. I've learned more when I've been teaching. So that's what I've recently started conducting workshops, and every workshop I'm learning so many new things because every student who comes brings their own palette of colors, their own way of playing with colors, and I get to see the newer effects that watercolors can create.
Yeah.
So definitely teaching
Helpful in
is very
it gives you
helpful.
ideas, right,
Yes,
while you're teaching
yes,
also.
yes.
Yeah, that is true of teaching. I agree. So, can you share a memorable experience or project that has had a significant impact on your artistic career?
So for me, I think the moment when I create a painting and I know that okay, this is something which is very original and something which is me, that is a moment which gives me a lot of joy. So there are some times when I'll paint and I'll just keep it inside the drawer, and there are times when I'm painting, and then I come up with something which just gives me that satisfaction that yes, this is something which is what I wanted to create, and it's come out on paper. And then I go and show it to my kids and to my husband, and then I'll ask them for their views, and that those are magical moments about being an artist, I think.
Yes, absolutely. I
Yeah.
agree with you. That's why I do this art therapy, because you sort of get people into a zone where they start feeling and emoting on paper. And that's what happens with us
Yes,
artists, I think,
exactly,
right? That
exactly.
moment is so magical.
Yes,
These
yes.
feelings and things, and then of course we want to go and share it with our loved ones. So
Yeah,
yes, I
yeah.
understand that. Teaching is a unique art form in itself. What do you find most rewarding about guiding others in their creative journeys?
Even I have gone through a learning process.
Okay,
I have not. I
yes,
mean, you're learning every day.
yes.
So when I learn something new and there is something very exciting that I've learned, I just love sharing it with people.
Right.
So I feel that that's what people have told me, that you teach from the heart. So maybe it is that some exciting things that I have learned, I share that same excitement while I'm teaching it.
Right.
So that is what I enjoy the most about teaching. And when that aha moment comes in my students, that oh, like okay, this can be done like this. So I think that's what excites me the most about teaching.
Wow. Okay, I get it. And so you're able to bring that out in your students, I
I
guess.
think I am. I mean, that's what they say. Let's hope.
You're doing a great job of it. How do you inspire and encourage your students to explore their artistic potential? Because every student has something in there, and the teacher sees it more than the student.
I think the most important thing for someone who's starting to paint is to first of all not think of the end result.
Correct.
They should enjoy the
Agree.
process, start enjoying the medium, play with the medium. That's what even I did. You have to just understand the full potential of your brushes, of the paints, what things can happen with the medium, and that's what I encourage them to do. I tell them that don't think that you're going to create like a masterpiece in the first go.
Correct.
Just even if your papers get wasted, but just play with the medium. That is very important.
Right.
And slowly, and of course you have to give it time. You have to a daily
Explore.
practice is
Yeah.
very essential
Right.
if you want to get into painting like an artist. So painting daily is very important, and yeah, enjoying the process rather than looking at the end result.
So setting a time for yourself with your painting.
Yes,
That's the
definitely. That's
practice
very
that you need to
important.
put into
That's very,
place.
I know nowadays it's difficult to set out that
Yeah.
time, but
Yeah.
if it excites you, you will automatically find time for
You're
it.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, are there any teaching moments or interactions with students that have left a lasting impression on you?
Yeah, so a very interesting thing in my workshops is that
Mm.
I have a very wide age group of people coming.
Right.
For my last workshop, I had a 15-year-old girl, and also I have had some senior citizens as well. So I think just seeing them interact with each other, not only in their painting, but also with how they interact with each other, that's great fun to watch. And at the end of the class, when they are in the beginning of the class is different, by the end of the class I feel that that journey of learning art together, it just dissolves the age difference in the age group, and everybody starts playing with the painting. So I think that is something which I really enjoy watching.
Wow. So that is something about teaching that inspires me more to think about teaching. I haven't yet ventured there, but yeah, that is something to be able to observe people and
Yes,
learn from them,
yes.
and all these. You can make a reel of all these moments that are happening in front of you as a teacher, right?
I think
Yeah.
everyone becomes a kid when they are playing with
Yeah,
colors.
that's
Yeah.
beautiful. That's beautiful. So, a little bit about motherhood and creativity now. Balancing motherhood with a creative career can be challenging. How do you find time for your art while being a doting mother of two?
As I said earlier,
Uh-huh.
if you have a passion for something, you will always find time for it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I do. Like even though I have to be, I look after the house, and though my kids are not here now, they are studying in the US.
Mm-hmm.
But you still have to supervise and do things at home.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are passionate,
Mm-hmm.
I just find time for it. Whether I'm sitting up late at night,
Mm-hmm.
or it's like I squeeze in my time between my work and
Mm-hmm.
my household responsibilities.
Mm-hmm. And that's how you
Yeah.
manage.
Yes.
I
Yes.
think you're right, because I come from a background where both my mother and my grandmother were working, and they just manage because that's what they love doing, right? It
Yeah.
just inevitably happens.
Exactly.
Okay, so have your children shown an interest in art, and do you involve them in your creative process? Yeah.
I think my kids are on the opposite end of the spectrum when it's related
Right.
to art. Both of
Right.
them used to hate art, the subject art, when they were in school,
Oh
and they
boy.
just hated going for these art classes and all that. I don't know why I put them through all those things. I could have only taught them maybe.
Right, right. Of
So
course.
they are not, but they're very good critiques of my art.
Right.
So whenever I, middle of the night, or not middle, but late at night, I'll come up. Okay, how's this? And they do give me good feedback that no,
Right.
this was better. Oh no, those colors. I mean, in the initial stages when I
Mm-hmm.
just started
Mm-hmm.
painting, they were my best critiques, and
Mm-hmm.
they used to come, and when I'm painting at night, they used to come and say some one sentence here and there. So I think it's a very it
It's
was great fun
organic,
when they are
yeah.
here, and I think maybe they'll start appreciating art when they see their mother painting so much. Yeah, maybe they'll develop some
Yeah, it's
interest for it.
inevitable, because like
Yeah.
when for my parents, they're physicians. It was a shock when I told them I want to go to design school. They're like, you got so much science in you. So inevitably, what I'm trying to say is they have it in them. The creativity is there. And both my folks were creative, and they used to paint and do things that were creative. So, it's there in the DNA. You can't
Yeah, yeah,
avoid it.
yeah.
Okay, so can you share any tips or strategies for other creative parents trying to balance family life and their passions?
You can always find time for
Mm-hmm.
yourself,
Mm-hmm.
even if you can squeeze in an hour in a day, which is,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's difficult.
Mm-hmm.
If you really want to make your career as an artist, you
Mm.
have to put in that much of time. There is no other way around it.
Correct.
you
Yeah, I
you you just
agree.
have to make time for it. But
Mm-hmm.
the other thing I've noticed about, if you want to really paint, is
Mm-hmm.
that you have to shut yourself off in that, to get into that flow state of painting.
Mm-hmm.
So if your mind is distracted with a lot of household
Mm-hmm.
responsibilities and things, at least I cannot paint. I
Mm-hmm.
need to just shut myself off of all these things.
Yeah.
That is very essential. So you have to manage your time, plan your day,
Right.
plan your days when you want to paint, and
Mm-hmm.
also like maybe talk to your family that okay, these are the hours in the day when I'm going to dedicate
Yeah.
for painting, and I'm sure everyone can adjust to that.
Absolutely. It
Yeah,
shows like you have that. I think art helps us love ourselves more, because it gives
exactly.
us the,
Yeah,
it makes you find the time to do it,
yeah,
right?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, so one question about the loving wife, okay, just once. Your husband plays a significant role in your life, I'm sure. How does he support your artistic endeavors, and how do you both maintain a strong connection in your busy lives?
I think my husband is my biggest support.
Wow.
He's always encouraging me, whether I'm sitting till 2 o'clock at night and painting. There were times when I was used to paint like till 2, 3 o'clock, when when
Mm-hmm.
you're in that state of painting. I do,
Mm-hmm.
then the time is no boundary of painting.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever, all these things I keep coming, I want to hold a workshop, or I want to have an exhibition.
Mm-hmm.
He's always encouraging me. He'll adjust his routine if he has to.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I don't think without his support I would be able to get where I am.
I agree. Your
Yeah,
partner has to give his
yeah, yeah.
time and support to you in whichever way, whether it's him being away from the creative process but holding the fort, like for you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
And I can see that he is very proud of what I'm doing.
yeah, yeah.
And he's never told me that, no, you need to. Of course, I also balance my housework. At the same time, he adjusts as well.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. You're one of the lucky ones, I'd say. Now we'll go a little bit into the style aspect, so artistic style and so on. Aparna, your watercolor artwork is known for its unique style and beauty. All of us have seen it. Can you describe your artistic style in your own words and what sets it apart from others?
What style has emerged out of all, that I've been painting is I love using very vibrant colors,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't paint realistic art. I
Right.
create my own composition in
Mm-hmm.
terms of, because when I'm traveling, when I'm out amongst nature, nature is my biggest inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
So I create my own combination of flowers and leaves and branches,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what sets it apart.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, uh, it's not necessary that a gulmohar will be painted exactly like a gulmohar. I add my own kind of imaginative little abstract touch to it, and I
Right,
think
right.
that's what sets it apart. And
Yes, I
yeah,
mean, your colors are definitely very vibrant, and I think the stylized forms also come across very beautiful. So, like,
yes,
it's not very different from what you're trying to portray. The flower eventually does look like a
yeah, it
gulmohar,
will look, but it'll have its
it's
own colors.
Aparna, the
Yeah,
Aparna style.
like I say, for me, the grass is never green and the sky is never blue.
Right,
Like I
right.
don't paint like, okay, I
Yes.
choose, and I don't pre-plan my colors. That is
Mm-hmm.
another thing I
Okay.
noticed about my when I start painting. I just
Mm-hmm.
open out all my palettes,
Mm-hmm.
and when I start painting, I just pick colors what intuitively.
Wow.
I don't pre-plan and pre-mix colors and
Keep them.
keep them
Yeah.
ready that okay, this
Yeah.
is how I'm going to paint this.
Mm-hmm.
So if suddenly I'm painting like a red a flower, I may add a very vibrant pink into it also, and I think that's what makes it very spontaneous.
And it strikes out
It
because you're
strikes out.
looking for that vibrancy, right?
Yes, yes,
In the
and once
looks.
again, because as I said, it's
Mhm.
watercolors. Mixing these colors, they create their own new colors.
Right.
So I try to exploit,
Mm-hmm.
and to tell you the truth, half the work, not half, but quite a bit of the work the watercolors do
Mm-hmm.
themselves.
Yeah, I mean, they'll bring you in the moment because you have to
Yes,
work quickly, right, with them.
quickly, exactly. You don't have time to think, and you
Yeah,
cannot redo. Once it's done, it's done. Once it's laid on the paper, it's done.
that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so are there any specific techniques or approaches within watercolor that you've developed or adopted to create your signature style?
Yeah, so I love layering with watercolors
Okay,
because watercolors is a transparent medium.
yeah.
So you can layer it and it
Mm-hmm.
can create some beautiful effects.
Wow, okay.
So, in fact, I have a class on Skillshare layering with watercolors.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
nice.
where
Yeah.
I teach
Mhm.
how, like there are 6, 7 layers to the whole composition and
Right.
how uh, it creates a depth
Mm-hmm.
within it.
Okay.
So that is one thing I do, and the other thing I do is I love to do a little pen work on my art. Once
Oh,
I've
okay.
done my watercolors,
Mm-hmm.
I create my own little whimsical doodling. I
Mm-hmm.
won't call it doodles, but it's little pen work to enhance it and to give
Mm-hmm.
it its little edge.
So, what pens? Like, do you use the rotring ink or what?
No, nothing in particular. As long
Mm-hmm.
as it's you're able to draw. I mean, over the watercolor, it should be
Mm-hmm.
able to come on the watercolor. So
Okay.
sometimes I use like acrylic pens.
Okay. Okay.
Sometimes I use micron pens.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, there's a choice. And acrylic pens are fine to use on watercolor medium or a
yeah,
paper?
yeah.
Yeah,
They're
okay,
fine.
nice. Okay, good. We're learning as we go
Mm.
here. Okay, so many artists have a color palette they gravitate towards. What are your favorite colors to work with and why do they resonate with you?
I think I always I get attracted to a very cool color palette. I
Okay,
don't normally go
interesting.
in for the oranges and red so much,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
and I'm more into the blues, greens, and
mm-hmm.
the purples, pinks. My
Mm.
favorite, I think, is the opera pink,
Oh, nice.
which is like such a vibrant pink color,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and I have to add a touch of it in all my paintings.
Right, right.
So I normally never my brush paint will never go towards a brown or a those ochre colors. I
Mm-hmm.
don't go towards them. It's always the brighter
And
colors.
yet you're such a warm person. I mean, and so I guess even with all the cool colors that you're suggesting you use or love using, it ends up looking so vibrant and warming, the painting itself. I mean, I
Yeah,
think it's
yeah,
your personality reflecting through.
maybe.
Okay. Your artwork often captures emotions and stories. Can you share some of the emotions or narratives you aim to convey through your paintings?
Yeah, so when I started painting, I used to wonder like, okay, what should I paint? So I used to go back. We've traveled a lot, you know. My husband is like made us travel almost all over the world. So everywhere I go, there was some memory that I had, and that is what I started my painting with. I used to think of where all we went and what were the particular kind of the vegetation that was there, and I used to go and look back at my photographs, pick out some photographs, and then create those memories on paper.
Oh,
And I used to write little anecdotes about that holiday. That is how I started painting.
wow.
So it I enjoyed the storytelling part of it more, you know, than like the painting and the story along with it. That what was that scene at that time that inspired me to paint this?
And you're depicting that with a
Depicting
little,
that,
okay,
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
So we can find these on your.
Yeah, so in my older Instagram posts,
Uh-huh.
I think I used to even write poems. So I, with every painting of mine, I write a little anecdote about it or a short poem, whatever came to me at that time.
Uh-huh.
And at that time, my tagline was, "I tell stories through art."
Wow.
So
Okay. Okay.
yeah, I mean, I think every art piece tells a story, and
Of course.
sometimes the artist shares the story, or sometimes it's only for them to know.
Of
It's
course.
just expressed on paper.
Paper.
Yeah.
Yes. So we'll be sharing your Instagram and profile little
Yeah,
later in
please,
the podcast.
you can check out and read my
Yeah,
stories.
for sure. Yeah. So are there specific themes or aspects of your daily life also that consistently appear in your artwork?
I wouldn't say daily life. I would say it's like my latest collection that I'm working on. It's what I see outside my window. So whenever I look out, luckily I stay in a place where there's lots of greenery around me. So when I look outside and I look at nature, I see it in different shapes. I don't look at it like a coconut tree or a, you know, like a thing. I just see different shapes, and that's what attracts me. And the way that nature, even though no two leaves are the same, even then there is a beautiful composition amongst nature, like because it's made by God, I think. So you can't beat it. So that is what I try to capture, and that is what inspires me a lot.
So how does this happen? Like you're saying you're seeing a coconut tree, but you look at it. Is this something you've developed? I would like to know. Just it's just come up.
I don't think I developed it as an. I think every artist at some point their observation skills become really good.
Okay.
So when I'm observing and when I sit on with my paints and my thing, I think it's all that is there in your mind that you've seen, and it just comes out on the
So
paper.
translates
It
differently.
translates differently, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So a lot of my time, you know, it goes. I'm just looking and observing, clicking pictures, and somewhere it is there at the back of your mind, and then it comes out on my paper. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
There's no process, so there's no, you know.
That's what I wanted to ask.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
there's no process. It's just naturally with everything that you've got.
Yeah,
The
so
output is
yeah, for
yeah.
example, I was just in Toronto when autumn was setting in, so I could see the change in the colors of the leaves and everything, and it was a totally different kind of fauna, flora that was
Yes.
visible there.
Yes.
So I got very inspired by that, and I
Okay.
made a holiday collection where it was all
Wow.
the maple leaves and the sumac tree, which turns into beautiful reds and oranges there.
Yeah.
So that's what
So
inspires
it's
me.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
inspiration from nature is a big thing. It's
yeah.
interesting you say that because before you, I did a podcast with a sustainable artist, and nature is inspiring everyone. Seems like as we speak. So I can I go back to an earlier question I'd asked when you were talking right in the beginning about yourself and your journey as a watercolor artist. I'd asked you, are there any artists or styles that had influenced your work?
Yeah,
And
so there is a Mexican artist, Ana Victoria.
okay.
She's I just love her work, and she was one person who I followed closely when I began my journey with watercolors. And she uses very vibrant colors.
Is she the one who does those psychedelic?
Yes,
Yes, I've seen
the
her
yeah,
stuff.
the cosmic kind of
Yes.
artwork. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess because I started when I started painting, I watched a lot of her artwork and everything. That vibrant colors that she uses. She uses even metallic colors. She uses fluorescent colors. So maybe that part stuck onto me. She's somebody. Then there is an Australian artist, Natalie Martin. She does a lot of layering and beautiful strokes, in her thing, and she captures the Australian landscape very beautifully.
Wow.
She was one person who's has had a great influence on me. And there is another artist, Ingrid. She's based in the UK. She does these beautiful, very expressive floral paintings. She's another person who greatly inspires me. And in fact, I just made a post on for Teachers Day where I thanked all of them because inadvertently and unknowingly, I've learned a lot from them.
Wow. Okay.
So
there's been no, like, you've not taken any formal training from these guys. You've just been inspired greatly by these people.
yes, I've
Yeah.
so I think there's a lot of passive learning by just even looking at the way they
Wow.
paint, looking at their nowadays social media, everyone is posting.
Correct.
So I've been observing. I have done a few classes,
Okay.
online courses also with them,
Okay.
but more to learn techniques and more to see the way they use their brush and they use the paint, because if you see my art and you see their art, it will be totally different.
Of course.
So even though I've done the courses from them, I think I've learned very very minute details I picked up from their process and use them in my own artwork.
So maybe some technique, but eventually it's inspired, and then you have your own original creative.
Yes.
So for us also, it's nice because you picked up everything, so we can just come and learn from you.
Yeah,
in your
sure.
workshops. So great. Okay, now I want to ask you something exciting, since we're talking about workshops, about your upcoming workshops. I understand you have some exciting workshops coming up. Could you give us a sneak peek into the themes or topics you'll be covering in your next workshops?
I began conducting workshops, and the first workshop I planned is a very interesting story. The first workshop that I planned was a creative garden,
Okay.
where I was teaching them from, like an ixora and the frangipani plant and creating a composition out
I
of
love
it.
that ixora.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so beautiful.
And I didn't realize that people who will be coming to me, I mean, they're not necessarily, they may be beginners as well, and sometimes you feel that, oh, this is very easy. So when I did the class, I realized that I need one class before this, before I get them to paint this. So then I designed this class, Blobs to Blooms.
Okay.
Because with watercolors, I realized that the most important thing was to get uh, the no, to get the water content that you need to use while using watercolors right.
Interesting. Wow. Okay.
So people normally, they don't know how much water you need to use, the right kind of equipment you need to use, because the paper is very important when you're painting with watercolors. You can't use any paper. You need to have a certain GSM of paper while painting with watercolors. So I designed Blobs to Blooms, where it is more about having fun and just falling in love with the medium.
So it's like a beginner's.
It's like it's like a beginner fun class, and of course there's a lot of learning which happens.
Of course, yes.
And I think people have just loved that class.
I
because
see it's taken up like a storm with all your many workshops you've gone.
I've had 4 or 5 of them, and people are still asking like, okay, when is your next? When is your next? Because everyone can't make it when the day I plan it. So
so I still have a chance to come and start, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So, and also, Aparna, what inspired you to choose these particular themes? Because it's a very unique theme, blobs and blooms. Like, how did you think of it?
So when I was designing the class, I thought that, okay, what is the most interesting way that I can make the class where you're learning basic techniques, but at the same time the person should feel that I'm making a painting, because at the end of the day, you want to take home something. You just don't want to come and paint blobs and go away.
Correct.
So I was just like thinking what to do, and then I said, okay, why can't we just convert these blobs into flowers?
Wow.
And that's how this class was born, like basically.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, can you share some details about the format and structure of your workshops and what participants can expect to learn and create during these sessions? In the sense, now you started a beginners and you must have a format and structure. What next? What next? Can you share something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so once they do the beginner level class,
Mhm.
I normally send them like a daily challenge,
Right.
so that the techniques that I've taught in the
Mhm.
the blobs to blooms, they can
Mhm.
exploit it to the full potential, so that
Wow.
they get rid of
Mhm.
that fear of watercolor,
Mhm.
because just one class you cannot really do so much.
Right.
So I encourage them to paint every day,
Very nice.
and I take them
Yeah.
through that process so
Mhm.
that maybe they can get ready for the second level, which is the creative garden,
So they're
where
practicing in this technique
I
that you every
encourage them. So
yeah.
people who are really enthusiastic
Right.
and want to get into it, like there are a couple of them who've now opened a new Instagram art account, and they're
Wow,
posting their
that's
daily,
something,
yeah,
yeah.
they're posting their daily updates,
Right.
whatever I send them, they're
Right.
painting it in their own way and they're posting it. So my aim is not just to have one workshop, you just
Mm.
sell the workshop. I think my mission is to
Mhm.
create a community of watercolor enthusiasts.
Beautiful. Wow.
So I don't just end it at the workshop. It
Right.
continues. The journey continues with me. Whether you want to do the next level or not, it's up to them.
Right.
But
Right.
I want them to also fall in love with the medium.
So also there'll be, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm probing you a little more because I also want to know. So that when you say the journey continues, does it go into an intermediate or an advanced?
Yeah, so the
Yeah.
intermediate level will be the paint a creative garden with me, where we'll do the
Oh,
flowers and everything.
wow.
And then the
Move
next
into the
level would
next.
be the layering with watercolors.
Ah,
Yeah,
wow.
that's how
So
I've
yes.
planned it. But I guess it has to be slower because, here what I've noticed is watercolors is more okay painting landscapes or painting, and I don't like to do landscapes so much. If you notice, my art is very, it's like a blur between realism and abstract.
Right, right.
Lot of fun, lot of
Yes,
colors.
yes.
So I want to first like
Allow them to,
allow them to do that,
yeah,
and
master that because even that needs mastering. I feel you didn't
yeah,
just come up with it and you just start.
exact.
You have to, I think, explore it a little more, right?
Yes,
So,
yes.
so we are looking at an intermediate class slowly, maybe in
Slowly,
the yeah in the
slowly.
near future
Yeah,
when we
yeah.
are all developed on our first
Yes.
level, and then okay, great. So, do you have any advice for individuals who may be interested in joining your workshops, especially if they're new to watercolor painting? I mean, there are people who are interested, they want to come, but they also hold back. I've had somebody in my art therapy class who didn't know how to open the cap of the paint and was so scared to even go there. So,
So anyone who's new, even somebody who's never, I've had a student who's never even picked up a paintbrush in her hand. She said, I've
sure,
not even touched a paintbrush ever.
sure.
So at the end of the class, she was so excited that she's saying, "Ki, I didn't know that it could be so easy."
Mm-hmm.
So I have actually simplified the process for this beginner workshop so much that somebody who's absolutely new
Mm-hmm.
to watercolors will also enjoy it. They will also learn something. Maybe the level that they start with and where they reach will be different from somebody who's painted a bit before, but
Right.
they will definitely reach one step above from where they are.
Great. So the excitement keeps them
Yes,
going.
by beginner class is for people of any skill level. That's how
Right.
I've done. Even somebody who's painted before, they will learn something new.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
That sounds great. And also materials, I wanted to go into it a little bit. Without giving away that we're not doing ads for any of these brand names or whatever you may take here. What materials are essential in like from the word go? Because I know people use really cheap materials and they just want to paint and get started. But I think you're somebody who's teaching us like the method, and so it would be right to ask you what sort of materials should we employ in this process.
So with watercolors, actually watercolors is by themselves, they can be really expensive also. But
Okay.
for beginners in India, at least, I think Camlin, the artist set of Camlin, is really good.
Oh wow.
It's
Okay.
amazing. It is very, very reasonable.
Okay.
And I would suggest that beginners can just start with that. And if they feel that, yeah, they're enjoying the medium and they want to go, then they can go a step further and buy see now, depending on the brand, it's like a designer bag, whether you want to buy the Louis Vuitton of
Yeah.
watercolors, or you want to be happy with, just any brand,
Regular brand.
regular
Yeah.
brand.
Yeah.
So it's all even, definitely the pigmentation and the choice of colors are much better as the brands get expensive.
Right.
But it's not that you can't work with the cheaper brands, but as long as it's an artist grade, it's fine.
Okay.
And the paper is the most important in the
Okay.
watercolor. If you don't
Okay.
use the 300 GSM paper,
Right.
it will not be able to handle the amount of water you're putting onto it.
Okay.
So the paper is the most important thing. And then there is the brushes.
Right.
Once again, there's a wide range of brushes, but I teach. When I teach them the beginner class, I'm using very basic brushes, and
Right.
you can manage with that as well.
And you supply all these materials at your workshop anyway. They're provided with all
Yes.
this.
So why I insisted on providing the material, so that
Right.
everyone is using the same material, so that it should not be that, okay, someone is using a, they should not feel that, oh, my set is expensive, that is why she's getting a better
The
result.
pigments are
The
better.
pigments are better.
Yeah.
So that's why I like to provide the
Unify
material
that.
unified, so
Yeah.
everyone has the same color palette, and they
Sure.
don't feel that, oh, hers or his is better. Yeah.
Right. And so they get to take home their creation or artwork, or do they have
Yeah,
to,
they take home only the artwork.
Right,
The
right.
materials I reuse for
Of
my
course,
classes.
of
Yeah,
course. Yeah.
yeah.
So wow, that's great. Okay. Now, how can interested individuals sign up for your workshops or stay updated on future offerings?
I think the best place to find me and get updates of my workshops is Instagram. On
Okay.
my Instagram handle is the wild at art. And if you sign up to my newsletter, I also send out emails
Okay.
before my workshops.
All right.
So you could even sign up. So even the link to sign up to my email is on my Instagram handle.
Fabulous. Okay, so that's the two.
Those are the two
Yeah.
ways. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Fantastic. Now, a little bit about your future ambitions. What are your future goals and aspirations as an artist?
I'm really enjoying holding these workshops as much as I want to paint. But every time I do a workshop, I feel like, okay, now, now I need to get back to painting. But the amount of love that I get from my students, and they're so excited after the workshop, and when is your next one? I feel like, no, I should have another one. And there are somebody who's not been able to come, they say, when is your next workshop? I couldn't make it for the last one. So that again motivates me that, chalo, I'll keep one more, after another week, which is very good.
It's addictive, right?
It's addictive, yeah.
Because
So
artists are also looking for a little bit of that,
exactly.
they want to sort of, you want people to sort of admire also, because you've created something. It's like, I think, like the creation. I mean, our creator, when we pay gratitude, we get much more. I feel it's exactly like that with us, right?
And I think that when I see the happy faces, the satisfied faces of my students when when they've done it, and I think that gives me that's a lot of joy, and that is what is, it's very gratifying teaching.
Absolutely.
So definitely I would want to continue keeping the workshops, and I'll have to manage my time to squeeze in time to make art. I'm right now I'm participating in the India Art Fair at Bangalore.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay, so we get to catch glimpses of your
Yeah,
masterpieces
yeah.
over
So
there.
I'm working on my new collection, which is titled Beyond My Window.
Beautiful. And will you be putting anything up on Instagram for our viewers or
I
audiences?
think I would like to keep that little undercover till I
Okay,
get
of
the
course.
collection,
Of course. Once you
going.
release it, and then
Yes.
perhaps you will.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
great.
Or I may give some sneak peeks to my audience.
Okay, so can you share any upcoming projects or exhibitions that your listeners can look forward to? You already said India Art Fest, but when is the next one?
So I am planning an intermediate level workshop for the 16th of September.
Okay, that's
Because
nice to know.
because all those who've done my beginner level are now waiting to do the intermediate level.
Okay, and where will you be hosting? Have you thought about it, or it's going? We should follow you on Instagram.
Yeah, I think it would be better to follow me on
Okay.
Instagram to stay updated. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, and finally, since you're a teacher and we have to keep probing you for more for us to learn, so any advice for aspiring artists, for those aspiring to pursue a career in art, what advice would you give them based on your experience?
With whatever little experience I have, I feel the most important thing is daily painting.
Okay, practice.
Practice,
Okay.
because if you are still looking to develop your style, to
Right.
find what is your style, because if you keep doing a lot of different things, you will not be known for a specific style. Though it's not necessary, but I feel a daily painting practice is very important.
Okay.
And just exploring and
Do you think like people should get into like taking classes from several, because I've seen a lot of like, people, they're just they constantly looking to learn from people, and finally, they don't develop their own style. So what do you think about that? Get started with one, keep the practice going, or keep looking for more people to collect technique or experience from? How does that process work basically?
so I can share how it worked for me. That
Mm-hmm.
once I knew that okay, watercolors is what I enjoy. Okay, once
Mm-hmm.
you've decided that okay, this is the medium I like,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay to initially explore different art styles. If you want to go for any different types of classes or whatever, learn from them. Then
Mm-hmm.
you have to observe and see that what you are enjoying the most.
Great.
It has to be what you enjoy the most,
Mm-hmm.
which
Mm-hmm.
is going to
Yes.
be your final art, your style of painting. Because if
Okay.
you don't enjoy it, maybe you will paint for few months, but then you'll be like, no, I'm not enjoying it, and you
Mm-hmm.
just probably just abandon the whole thought.
Right. Right.
So even though in between I did some urban sketches,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
I realized that that's not my calling. I was not enjoying it so much.
Okay.
Even though people were giving me commission, I got a commission for doing an urban sketch, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't enjoy it. So I'm not
Right.
going to do something just because there is a demand for it.
Although your urban sketches, I must say this to our viewers, are splendid. So again, like just going to her Instagram page would be a wonder of sorts, like she's saying this, but I feel I
Yeah,
love them, and I think I would want to come for your urban sketches class whenever you're hosting. I think that will be an advanced level, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe if I decide to do one.
Yeah.
So as I said, like I
Mhm.
think for me, nature is what attracts me, painting
Okay.
nature. But yeah, as I was talking about aspiring artists,
Mm-hmm.
that there is a period of time when you're trying a lot of things,
Okay.
but at the end of the day, you have to filter and see what you are enjoying the most.
Okay.
And also, another artist
Mm-hmm.
gave me this advice that
Mm-hmm.
follow your intuition, and you
Right.
will ultimately reach there.
Wow.
So that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
There may be people who are giving a forecast that okay, these colors are in and
Yeah.
this style is in, but I feel an artist should paint what they like, what they
Right.
enjoy, and
Right.
that is what is going to set them apart from the other.
Wow. So basically, you're just sticking with what you like and then keep practicing with that and develop that.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
rather than feel forced to go in with what's in trend, is what
yes,
you're saying, right?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. So finally, where can our listeners find your work? I know you mentioned, but I'd like you to repeat again. Also connect with you or learn more about your art and teaching or workshops.
My as I mentioned, my Instagram handle, the
Uh-huh.
Wild at Art.
Mhm.
I have a website,
Uh-huh.
www.thewildatart.com.
Okay.
And if you subscribe to my website, I send out, not very often, but when something new is happening, I send out a newsletter. So that's
Okay.
how you can stay updated. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Aparna. It was very difficult to find time with you because I know you're very busy as a teacher, and now you're doing workshops, and mostly in the Juhu area, you say. You're
Uh,
planning to move towards our areas, I mean,
no, it's
Bandra.
I'm not
Okay.
restricted to Juhu. I
Okay.
just it depends. I mean,
Wherever, so
not
we'll
yeah,
we'll
yeah.
we'll have perhaps more, we'll have to check out her Insta page. She doesn't give away much, so for more updates, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you so much for
Thanks so
this.
much, Rima, for calling me for this podcast. I think while talking to you, I myself discovered a few things about my processes.
Oh, that's
So
beautiful,
that
and
was nice.
likewise, like when all artists meet, there's magic.
Yeah.
So thanks again.